of Zanzibar Tales. This is the LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Kandice, Stehlik, Dallas, Texas. Zanzibar Tales by George W. Bateman. Chapter 7, Part 1. Haamdaanee. Once there was a very poor man named Haamdaanee, who begged from door to door for his living, sometimes taking things before they were offered him. After a while, people became suspicious of him and stopped giving him anything in order to keep him away from their houses. So at last he was reduced to the necessity of going every morning to the village dust heap and picking up and eating the few grains of the tiny little millet seed that he might find there. One day, as he was scratching and turning over the heap, he found a dime, which he tied up in a corner of his ragged dress and continued to hunt for millet grains, but could not find one. "Oh, well," said he, "I've got a dime now. I'm pretty well fixed. I'll go home and take a nap instead of a meal." So he went to his hut, took a drink of water, put some tobacco in his mouth, and went to sleep. The next morning, as he scratched in the dust heap, he saw a countryman going along, carrying a basket made of twigs, as he called to him, "Hi there, countryman, what have you in thy cage?" The countryman, whose name was Haamdaanee, replied, "Gazelles." And Haamdaanee called, "Bring them here, let me see them." Now there were 3 well-to-do men standing near, and when they saw the countryman coming to Haamdaanee, they smiled and said, "You're taking lots of trouble for nothing, Haamdaanee." "How's that, gentlemen?" he inquired. "Why," said they, "that poor fellow has nothing at all, not a cent." "Oh, I don't know that," said the countryman. "He may have plenty for all I know." "Not he," said they. "Don't you see for yourself," continued one of them, "that he is on the dust heap? Every day he scratches there like a hen, trying to get enough grains of millet to keep himself alive. If he had any money, wouldn't he buy a square meal for once in his life? Do you think he would want to buy a gazelle? What would he do with it? He can't find enough food for himself without looking for any for a gazelle." But Haamdaanee said, "Gentlemen, I have brought some goods here to sell. I answer all who call me, and if anyone says, 'Come,' I go to him. I don't favor one and slight another. Therefore, as this man called me, I'm going to him." "All right," said the first man. "You don't believe us. Well, we know where he lives and all about him, and we know that he can't buy anything." "That's so," said the second man. "Perhaps, however, you will see that we were right, after you have a talk with him." To which the third man added, "Clouds are a sign of rain, but we have seen no signs of his being about to spend any money." "All right, gentlemen," said Haamdaanee. "Many better-looking people than he call me, and when I show them my gazelles they say, 'Oh, yes, they're very beautiful, but awfully dear. Take them away.' So I shall not be disappointed if this man says the same thing. I shall go to him anyhow." Then one of the 3 men said, "Let us go with this man and see what the beggar will buy." "Pshaw!" said another. "Buy! You talk foolishly. He has not had a good meal in 3 years, to my knowledge, and a man in his condition doesn't have money to buy gazelles. However, let's go, and if he makes this poor countryman carry his load over there just for the fun of looking at the gazelles, let each of us give him a good hard whack with our walking sticks to teach him how to behave toward honest merchants." So when they came near him, one of those 3 men said, "Well, here are the gazelles. Now buy one. Here they are, you old hypocrite. You'll feast your eyes on them, but you can't buy them." But Haamdaanee, paying no attention to the men, said to Haamdaanee, "How much for one of your gazelles?" Then another of those men broke in, "You're very innocent, aren't you? You know as well as I do that gazelles are sold every day at 2 for a quarter." Still taking no notice of these outsiders, Haamdaanee continued, "I'd like to buy one for a dime." "One for a dime?" laughed the men. "Of course you'd like to buy one for a dime. Perhaps you'd also like to have the dime to buy with." Then one of them gave him a push on the cheek. At this, Haamdaanee turned and said, "Why do you push me on the cheek when I've done nothing to you? I do not know you. I called this man to transact some business with him, and you, who are strangers, step in to spoil our trade." He then untied the knot in the corner of his ragged coat, produced the dime, and, handing it to Muhadim, said, "Please, good man, let me have a gazelle for that." At this, the countryman took a small gazelle out of the cage and handed it to him, saying, "Here, master, take this one. I call it Kajipa." Then turning to those three men, he laughed and said, "Ha! How is this? You, with your white robes and turbans and swords and daggers and sandals on your feet, you gentlemen of property and no mistake, you told me this man was too poor to buy anything, yet he has bought a gazelle for a dime, while you fine fellows, I think, haven't enough money among you to buy half a gazelle, if they were 5 cents each." Then Muhadim and the three men went their several ways. As for Haamdaanee, he stayed at the dust heap until he found a few grains of millet for himself and a few for Kajipa, the gazelle, and then went to his hut, spread his sleeping mat, and he and the gazelle slept together. This going to the dust heap for a few grains of millet, and then going home to bed continued for about a week. Then one night Haamdaanee was awakened by someone calling, "Master!" Sitting up, he answered, "Here I am. Who calls?" The gazelle answered, "I do." Upon this, the beggar man became so scared that he did not know whether he should faint or get up and run away. Seeing him so overcome, Kajipa asked, "Why, master, what's the matter?" "Oh, gracious!" he gasped. "What a wonder I see!" "A wonder?" said the gazelle, looking all around. "Why, what is the wonder that makes you act as if you were all broken up?" "Why, it's so wonderful, I can hardly believe I'm awake," said his master. "Who in the world ever before knew of a gazelle that could speak?" "Oh," laughed Kajipa, "is that all? There are many more wonderful things than that. But now, listen while I tell you why I called you." "Certainly, I'll listen to every word," said the man. "I can't help listening." "Well, you see, it's just this way," said Kajipa. "I've allowed you to become my master, and I cannot run away from you, so I want you to make an agreement with me, and I will make you a promise and keep it." "Say on," said his master. "Now," continued the gazelle, "one doesn't have to be acquainted with you long in order to discover that you are very poor. This scratching a few grains of millet from the dust heap every day and managing to subsist upon them is all very well for you. You're used to it, because it's a matter of necessity with you. But if I keep it up much longer, you won't have any gazelle. Kichipa will die of starvation. Therefore, I want to go away every day and feed on my own kind of food, and I promise you I will return every evening." "Well, I guess I'll have to give my consent," said the man in no very cheerful tone. As it was now dawn, Kajipa jumped up and ran out of the door, Haamdaanee following him. The gazelle ran very fast, and his master stood watching him until he disappeared. Then tears started in the man's eyes, and raising his hands, he cried, "Oh, my mother!" Then he cried, "Oh, my father!" Then he cried, "Oh, my gazelle, it has run away!" Some of his neighbors, who heard him carrying on in this manner, took the opportunity to inform him that he was a fool, an idiot, and a dissipated fellow. Said one of them, "You hung around that dust heap, goodness knows how long, scratching like a hen, till fortune gave you a dime. You hadn't sense enough to go and buy some decent food. You had to buy a gazelle. Now you've let the creature run away. What are you crying about? You brought all your trouble on yourself." All this, of course, was very comforting to Haamdaanee, who slunk off to the dust heap, got a few grains of millet,
and came back to his hut, which now seemed meaner and more desolate than ever. At sunset, however, Keejeepaa came trotting in, and the beggar was happy again and said, "Ah, my friend, you have returned to me." "Of course," said the gazelle. "Didn't I promise you? You see, I feel that when you bought me, you gave all the money you had in the world, even though it was only a dime. Why, then, should I grieve you? I couldn't do it. If I go and get myself some food, I'll always come back evenings." When the neighbors saw the gazelle come home every evening and run off every morning, they were greatly surprised and began to suspect that Haamdaanee was a wizard. Well, this coming and going continued for 5 days, the gazelle telling its master each night what fine places it had been to and what lots of food it had eaten. On the 6th day, it was feeding among some thorn bushes in a thick wood, when, scratching away some bitter grass at the foot of a big tree, it saw an immense diamond of intense brightness. "Oh," said Keejeepaa, in great astonishment, "here's property, and no mistake. This is worth a kingdom. If I take it to my master, he will be killed, for, being a poor man, if they say to him, 'Where did you get it?' and he answers, 'I picked it up,' they will not believe him. If he says, 'It was given to me,' they will not believe him either. It will not do for me to get my master into difficulties. I know what I'll do. I'll seek some powerful person. He will use it properly." So Keejeepaa started off through the forest, holding the diamond in his mouth, and ran, but saw no town that day. So he slept in the forest and arose at dawn and pursued his way. And the 2nd day passed like the first. On the 3rd day, the gazelle had traveled from dawn until between 8 and 9 o'clock, when he began to see scattered houses, getting larger in size, and knew he was approaching a town. In due time, he found himself in the main street of a large city, leading direct to the sultan's palace, and began to run as fast as he could. People passing along stopped to look at the strange sight of a gazelle running swiftly along the main street with something wrapped in green leaves between its teeth. The sultan was sitting at the door of his palace when Keejeepaa, stopping a little way off, dropped the diamond from its mouth, and, lying down beside it, panting, called out, "Ho there! Ho there!" which is a cry everyone makes in that part of the world when wishing to enter a house, remaining outside until the cry is answered. After the cry had been repeated several times, the sultan said to his attendants, "Who is doing all that calling?" And one answered, "Master, it's a gazelle that's calling, ho there." "Ho, ho!" said the sultan. "Ho, ho! Invite the gazelle to come near." Then 3 attendants ran to Keejeepaa and said, "Come, get up. The sultan commands you to come near." So the gazelle arose, picked up the diamond, and, approaching the sultan, laid the jewel at his feet, saying, "Master, good afternoon." To which the sultan replied, "May God make it good. Come near." The sultan ordered his attendants to bring a carpet and a large cushion, and desired the gazelle to rest upon them. When it protested that it was comfortable as it was, he insisted, and Keejeepaa had to allow himself to be made a very honored guest. Then they brought milk and rice, and the sultan would hear nothing until the gazelle had fed and rested. At last, when everything had been disposed of, the sultan said, "Well, now, my friend, tell me what news you bring." And Keejeepaa said, "Master, I don't exactly know how you will like the news I bring. The fact is, I'm sent here to insult you. I've come to try and pick a quarrel with you. In fact, I'm here to propose a family alliance with you." At this, the sultan exclaimed, "Oh, come! For a gazelle, you certainly know how to talk. Now, the fact of it is, I'm looking for someone to insult me. I'm just aching to have someone pick a quarrel with me. I'm impatient for a family alliance. Go on with your message." Then Keejeepaa said, "You don't bear any ill will against me, who am only a messenger?" And the sultan said, "None at all." "Well," said Keejeepaa, Look at this pledge I bring," dropping the diamond wrapped in leaves into the sultan's lap. When the sultan opened the leaves and saw the great sparkling jewel, he was overcome with astonishment. At last he said, "Well, I have brought this pledge," said the gazelle, "from my master, Sultan Dari. He has heard that you have a daughter, so he sent you this jewel, hoping you will forgive him for not sending something more worthy of your acceptance than this trifle." "Goodness!" said the sultan to himself. "He calls this a trifle?" Then to the gazelle, "Oh, that's all right. That's all right. I'm satisfied. The Sultan Darari has my consent to marry my daughter, and I don't want a single thing from him. Let him come empty handed. If he has more of these trifles, let him leave them at home. This is my message, and I hope you will make it perfectly clear to your master." The gazelle assured him that he would explain everything satisfactorily, adding, "And now, master, I take my leave. I go straight to our town and hope that in about 11 days we shall return to be your guests." So, with mutual compliments, they parted. End of Chapter 7, Part 1. Recording by Kandice Stehlik, Dallas, Texas.